So in this video we're going to talk about civilization. Okay, where does civilization come from? Okay, down in this picture, it's actually an artist's depiction of the city of Uruk, about 3500 BC. As you can see, there's the river, the major river flowing through with a harbor, inlets for boats right here, okay, which leads right into, a trade mall, where in the middle toward the edge of the trade mall you can see a temple, just like we talked about at the end of the last video. Civilization was really defined by walls, and all that happened because of the increasing complexity that agriculture brought to societies, as there was surpluses of people, surpluses of property, surpluses of food, right? The last video was really about that surplus of food. This means wealth. This means people can own lots of food, own lots of people even, and use those people and use that extra wealth to gain more than others, okay? And often that manifests into more political power in other ways, right? So on the outskirts, you see the farmland, right? The farmland is still feeding into the markets, right? And like I said before, these travelways are going to be connecting these cities up and down the rivers, bringing different kinds of products from other cities and trading here in the market area and other areas with local artisans, local merchants, local traders. So all this trading means some people are going to have more than others. There's another thing too. The walls right here are all about protection, right? All these walls are protecting the wealth. The walls around the cities over here on the river, they're about protecting the wealth, protecting the people, protecting what the wealthy have. Okay, and civilization and cities develop into states because of the kind of protection that they embark on. They protect their city and their wealth by gaining more wealth, by taking on more territory, by combining cities into city-states, and eventually, whole areas into states. Not much different than what we see now, though that continues to grow, especially in areas in Mesopotamia and Egypt, and even the Shang and in China, into empires. We're going to look at Mesopotamians and Egyptians, but we're also going to look at a little bit about the Babylonians, right, in the time of Hammurabi. So what happens here, though, is as all this wealth, like I said in the other video, some people have it, some people don't. They need to protect it. The men are the ones that go off and protect it, mostly because the women are better equipped to take care of the kids, to nurse the kids, and unfortunately, we get unequal societies. We get patriarchal societies. That's really a major impact of civilization and the development of states in general. The need to protect that wealth and to protect the land falls on the men, and the women have to take care of the babies, which means they cannot engage and have as much access to those economic opportunities as the men do. So, other things that we talked about in the other book, the other video, was just things like the characteristics of civilization. In this case, we're talking about cities and civilization as needing people to write, right? So you need a written language or a way to record information is more accurate, because you'll see that Indian civilizations didn't necessarily have a form of writing like cuneiform or hieroglyphics like in Mesopotamia and Egypt, but they had the quipu, which was a system of knots that kept records. Another thing is specialization. of labor. So specialized workers. You're going to have people doing just public works. You're going to have warriors. You're going to have soldiers. You're going to have priests. You're going to have people who are good administrators, good at organizing labor to develop, fix, and build irrigation systems. The other thing that we're going to look at in class more is how this turns into what they call the Grandeur of Kings. Initially, the generals become kind of dictators during times of war or great important battles to protect the civilization or the city. But what happens is these states have a different characteristic. They're always protecting. They're always doing this. So instead of the political power shifting back and forth between the generals during war and the priest during peacetime, it just stays with the generals. Okay, and so the generals become basically the first kings. Okay, at some point these kings realize that the priests still have some of that political power, so they start to take it. They start to absorb it. They start to gain their power or derive their power from a divine right. It's a mandate of heaven in China. The pharaohs are god kings. Hammurabi says, yeah, I am a god, right? So that whole power struggle gets kind of taken care of through the people's perception of the king, and that's kind of molded by consolidating the power from the religious end and the protection end and the economic end all into one, being the god king, the divine right. So we're going to be talking a little bit more specifically about state expansion in Mesopotamia, Babylonia, and also the Nile Valley in class. We'll also go over, some of the particular weapons that the pastoralists, shared or exposed these agriculturalists to, like compound bows and iron weapons and chariots and horseback riding, things like that, different modes of transportation. We'll also do some look at monumental art and some urban planning, and look at ziggurats and pyramids, temples, defensive walls, streets and roads, city planning, right? Sewage and water systems. A couple other things. That's pretty much it. We'll probably finish up by looking at the role of culture with this key concept 1.3, and new religious beliefs like the Vedic religion, in Hebrew monotheism, right, as well as Zoroastrianism. We'll then look at a little bit more in terms of trade expansion toward the end between areas like Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley, as well as Nubia, upstream from Egypt. And we'll also look at social and gender hierarchies, as well as a little bit of literature from Epic of Gilgamesh and Rig Veda, the Book of the Dead. And we'll really look at how culture has impacted the role of culture